Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus Tour for October the 19th, 2024. Up for you today, I've got 5 selections and 5 quick hitters. I got to tell you, I always put my best plays, of course, on Inside the Press Box, and it was another winning week overall for Inside the Press Box last week, but it felt like a losing week for me because the tour let me down. I mean, the selections had a losing record last week. The quick hitters went 2-3. The NFL selection lost. Even the halftime play I put up lost last week, so very disappointed. Good records overall through the 2 years, but always disappointed after a losing week. Hey, I've been doing this a long time. I know there's going to be losing weeks out there, but I tell you what, it never gets easier to accept a losing week. In fact, I just can't. It's very tough. Don't like it, but let's bounce back with a big winning week this week. And we'll get to the first game, then we'll get to a couple of records. And by the way, I do have one of my computer wanted to use, but I would not let them play. Those are 4-0. Let's hope it goes to 5-0 this week. But let's start with our first game. And as you can see, it's Iowa State against Central Florida. We got Iowa State on the right. We got Central Florida on the left. Central Florida is the visitor for the game. And this one here, what we do is we've got the game grades. Now, remember, the game grades, which are here, give you a tremendous set of power ratings. And you could go back. We've been doing game grades for a long time. You could see them all here and see how they went through the seasons. In fact, here, we've got the information all the way back. If you want to 2009, you want to get individual player stats. Since 2009-10, they're all up there on every single team. But the average game grades are great because they don't have anything to do with the starting grade. They only take into account the opponent, yards rushing, yards passing, and points, offensively and defensively, and who the opponent was and where the game was. But this gives you the overall average game grade for the season, tells you how the team is playing. This gives you the average game grade for the last 4 weeks, which it tells you a really good how the team is playing current form. And this is a best bet, by the way. And let's click over there to the schedule with numbers. The schedule with numbers is right here. This is the last 4 weeks column. Now, last year, the last 4 weeks AGG games that were over here in the schedule, the best bets, they went 44-26. Last week, they heat up naturally as the season goes on. You expect a slow start like there was. After 5 weeks, saying last 4 weeks, there's not a big difference, but now you start to get bigger and bigger differences. Last week, the best bets in this column went 7-3. The plays were 8-3 overall, and they are now 55-33 over the last 2 years. So this is when the column heats up. I'm giving you 3 of the best bets here on this tape. You'll get them all. But I want you to go and get all the rest of them. And remember, and I'll do this real quick here just to show you, but when you go to Phil Steele Plus, this is the menu you get. It's right here, schedule with power rating numbers. Click here to download all the lines for FBS. This is everything right there, and you can take it all the way for the entire season. All that stuff is updated. So do use that each and every week. That's where you get to it. When I refer to the schedule, this is where you go. This gives you an explanation of each of the columns that are on there. But let's get back to the team page. Click on the team page. We're going to put Iowa State on the right. Over the last 4 weeks, Iowa State's playing to 123.7 average game grade. Meanwhile, UCF is playing to 105. That's an 18-point difference. Plus, Iowa State's at home. Add in their home field edge. My last 4 weeks AGG says to take, click on that again here, schedule with numbers. Says Iowa State by 21.8, and they're only laying 13.5. This gives you the latest line update. By the way, here's what this means, and I've only got the 6 games that I'm going to show you today, but this is anything in green is a best bet for that column. Here's the column's records. If you want to see how they did, like this column didn't do very well last week. This is when they met last year, what the final score was. But there are columns that are doing great. Look at the revenge column, 65-29 over the last 2 years. So this updates the records each and every week. You can see how the best bets are doing. Green is a best bet. Yellow is an almost best bet. We count that as a half. So here, if you look at this Iowa State game, Iowa State is got a best bet here with the plus-minus power ratings. The situation in this column here, if it's a positive number that says go with the home team, if it's a negative number that says go with the visitor. Here it's a positive situation for Iowa State. Last 4 weeks AGG. Iowa State's a 3 best bet play. So keep that in mind. That's how you use this system. But right here, 123 to 108. It says they win by 21 points. They're only a 13.5-point favorite. We're going to go with Iowa State as the last 4 weeks AGG play, and I think we're going to do really, really well on these last 4 weeks AGG plays over the next 6 weeks. Make sure you check them all out on Phil Steele Plus. All right, let's get to the revenge game of the week. Before I get to it, a quick note for you. How's the battle going with the computer? Now, the battle is on. I won weeks 1, 3, 4, and 5. My computer has won 2, 6, and 7, and my computer just took the lead. I have an 18-12 record on the year. My computer is 16-10 on the year, although if I would have let the computer use the selections these last 4 weeks, it would be 20-10, 67%. The computer's best bets, they really heated up at the second half of last year. They're heating up again. 32-17 over the last 15 weeks for the computer. And if you add up all the best bets for this year, including the FBS versus FCS best bets earlier, we're talking 45-28, 63% for Inside the Press Box. And once again, if you want to get the single issue of Inside the Press Box this week, it's just $20. All you do is you go to the homepage here, go to the store, and when you click on the store right here, you've got access to Inside the Press Box, college, NFL. These are the single issues. Click on that, and you would get it for just $20 this week. If you want to get the FCS magazine, I'll talk more about that with the FCS update. But this is how you get to the store for philsteele.com. All right, let's get back to here now. Phil Steele Plus. Our next game, we're going to take a look at the revenge game of the week, and it is Florida against Kentucky. The revenge game lost for the first time last week. It was 4-0 this year. Well, let's make it 4-1. But this week's revenge game, and once again, if we go back to the schedule with numbers, here you can see the revenge column, 65-29 over 2 years. Went 3-4 last week, a rare losing week. 17-9 on the year, 65-25. Here's a revenge play. You want to get all the best bet revenge plays? Just get Phil Steele Plus. Go right down the schedule and use all of them this week. But Florida's a 3. Now, Kentucky here is a best bet for met last year's score, but Florida's a best bet for my preseason line. I had them by 7, and they are a 2-point dog at home. Revenge is on their side. Action Network had them by 6, and FPI even has them by 5.9. So the green adds up best bets. You got 4 best bets on Florida, 1 best bet on Kentucky. That's a 3 on Florida for the best bets. That's how that works. Well, let's get Kentucky over here on the left, and we're going to get Florida on the right. And a tough loss last week for Florida. They're playing so much better right now. If you take a look at what they did, they beat Mississippi State, they beat UCF. You go back to that Tennessee game last week, they had 4 drives. And when you click, by the way, here on box score, when you click on box score, I go through the play-by-play of every game. I'd like to thank collegepressbox.com for allowing us to post these box scores. But it's super easy. You got all this information that I'm showing you right now, but then you actually get to the actual game. And here, when you look at Florida, they drove down the field and they settled for a 42-yard field goal on 1 drive in the red zone. Next drive in the red zone, let's see what happened. Florida drives all the way down. 4th and 1. They go for it at the 18. Turnover on downs. Get to the red zone again. 1st and goal at the 1. Fumble. That was a touchdown. They would be up 10-0 at this point. And then the next drive, they have a 43-yard field goal. They actually made it, but they had 12 guys on the field with no time left, so they took it off the board. 4 trips to the red zone, could easily have been up by double digits at the half. Instead, they were only up 3-0 at the half and ended up losing in overtime to Tennessee. But that's on the road against Tennessee as a 2-touchdown underdog. That's a good game. Once again, here are your half times for every single game. You see they had a 194 to 130-yard edge. Here's your scores. And if you want to click on here, this shows you how the series went. This used to be dominant. Look at all these wins by Florida in this series history, the last 27 years. But Kentucky has won the last 3. So Florida playing with legitimate revenge at home, playing much better. Kentucky just lost to Vanderbilt last week. And by the way, they scored last in that game. They were down, if we take a look at the score, they were down 20-7. They scored last in the game with 7 minutes to go to make it 20-13. That was at home against Vanderbilt. They did beat Ole Miss. That was an impressive win. Did play a good game against Georgia, but for the revenge play, we're going to go with Florida +1. The revenge plays, as mentioned, 17-9 on the year. And look at this. Kentucky in conference play is averaging just 12.8 3 points per game. So once again, you got conference play right here as well. Conference broken down, non-conference, home away. We'll get more into that later. But your second selection is Florida, +1 over Kentucky. All right, here's the one you've been waiting for. It is the computer wanted to use, but I wouldn't let him use it. And there we go, right here. And it is, we're going to take a look at a Friday night game, just like last week we used a Friday night game. It's BYU against Oklahoma State. Now, not letting the computer use weekday games. That's why it's on here. But look at this. The computer gives you a projected box score for the game. It shows BYU with 188-76 rush edge. Yes, Oklahoma State has Ollie Gordon. It says they're going to hold Ollie Gordon and Oklahoma State to 76 yards, rushing a 285, 237 passing edge, a convincing 472-313 yard edge, and winning the game 35-19. So winning by 16. They're a 9.5 point favorite in the game. Here's my complete write-up on the game. This is what you get when you get inside the press box for the year. This gives you the Vegas line, Vegas total, plus-minus rating, game grade. This is all on the schedule right here. You can go there. This right here is also on the schedule. You can go there. You can see that the past meetings. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Oklahoma State or BYU on the right, put them on the right, and Oklahoma State on the left. And as you can see, BYU is 6-0 this year. Look at all the red over here. This could almost be a red-green matchup. You got a lot of red. They struggle to run the ball and struggle to stop the run. Those are two bad factors for any team. And if you look at this a little bit closer, they trailed Utah State 22-3. This Kansas State game was over heading into the fourth quarter. Once again, West Virginia, I think even in the West Virginia game, they scored late. In fact, if you look at Oklahoma State and go back and look at these box scores, you'll find that Oklahoma State got 2 garbage touchdowns against Utah, 1 garbage touchdown against Kansas State, and 1 garbage touchdown against West Virginia. So they are actually worse than the numbers would indicate in the conference play. So if you go to conference play here, keep in mind this 18 points per game includes 4 touchdowns in garbage time. They've been outgained by 190 yards per game in Big 12 play, giving up 313 yards per game on the ground, 6.2. And if you look at BYU's got some zeros up here in the running backs. They're getting their running backs healthy again. They entered the season down like 3-4 running backs. They're getting them healthy. So look for BYU with a healthier running back core, playing extremely confident at home. My computer likes it. And once again, this is the computer one to use. And I'll show you what pops up on my computer probably every half hour. This does. My computer's telling me 67%. Once again, when you go back and take a look at the battle is on numbers, the computer would be 20-10, 67% if I would have allowed it to use those 4 plays the last 2 weeks. So my computer's just kindly letting me know that it's hitting 67%, even though I wouldn't let it use it for those best bet plays. So this is what I have to deal with my computer. He gets cocky this time of year. He has a big winning record, and he pops at 67% up on my computer all the time. But the press box game record, once again, is computer really likes BYU minus the points over Oklahoma State. So that's your third selection. Your fourth one is my strength of schedule play, and this one's got a lot going for it, actually. We're going to put Temple on the right, and we're going to put Tulsa on the left. And that is a matchup. Now, Temple's poor, right? They are only 1-5 on the year. But look who they played. They played Oklahoma. They played Navy, undefeated, by the way. They played Coastal Carolina, a good team in the Sun Belt. They played Utah State. Army's undefeated. And they played Connecticut. Connecticut's got a good record this year. If we take a look at that schedule again and take a look at the strength of schedule, we see that Temple has a 71 strength of schedule edge coming into this. Tulsa's played Northwestern State, Arkansas State, an Oklahoma State team that's struggling, Louisiana Tech, North Texas. They did play Army. So they played Army. They both played Army this year, but they played a much tougher schedule. And if you look at the stats here, a couple of things I want to point out. Temple is... if you go to the YPG, this is interesting. Let's go here and show you a couple of things that are available on Phil Steele Plus. Go to this, your menu, and you can click on here, which is the offensive YPG versus defense. This tells you right here, these 2 columns, very valuable. This tells you that Tulsa on the year is averaging 55 yards per game, less than what their opponents allow. And they are allowing 61 yards per game above what their opponents normally gain. Where does that put them overall? Well, if you look at this chart here, Tulsa comes in number 123. Now, Temple's not much better. They're minus 71, but that still is pretty significant yardage-wise difference for the YPG versus opponent's average. Plus, they've taken on the much tougher schedule. So you would anticipate if you played the much tougher schedule, you'd be lower in the YPG. They're actually higher in the YPG, so I like that. That's a good factor they got going for them. If you take a look at the last 4 weeks, AGG, let me just see if we get, let's go take a look at that. Go back to Phil Steele Plus here and click on team pages and put Temple on the right. Let's get Temple over there. Last 4 weeks, AGG, they're playing to an 89.9 level. I like that. Tulsa's playing to a 78.7 level. All right, that's an 11.2 difference, plus factor in the home edge, and you're looking at 14.2 for Temple. So once again, we go back to that schedule with numbers, and we see that, okay, what do we got riding on Temple here? This has Tulsa. Tulsa won the game by last year. They beat Temple at home by 22. So if you take away their 3-point home edge and add in Tulsa's 3-point home edge, it's a 6-point difference. That makes it Tulsa by 16. But Temple in the power ratings, my plus-minus power ratings have them by 8.3. My current AGG has them by 8. Strength of schedule says they've got a big advantage. Last 4 weeks, AGG has them by 14. So you got a lot of stuff going on here for Temple this week. Temple is actually a we got this one mislabeled. I'll get it labeled correctly. It's a 3-play. Temple's a 3-play this week. I just had that mislabeled. So Temple is a 3 best bet selection rating this week and in this matchup. The series, let's take a look at one more thing in this matchup. We're going to take a look at the series. So this pops up. You see right here, the favorite is actually 6-0 straight up. So favorite one, dog lost, dog lost, dog lost. And they've all been decided by double digits. So the favorite is 6-0 straight up in the series, all by double digits. All that adds up for Temple this week. A lot of things going for them. They are a 3 best bet play. And a couple things here. If this is green, that means the team won the game straight up. You don't have to even try to look at the score. If this is green, that means the team covered. If it's red, they did not cover. So you don't have to say, oh, they were 3.5-point dog. They lost by 22. No, the math's done for you right there. The home team here, look at this. The home team has covered 4 in a row in the series. I didn't even notice that. I like that. In fact, the home team's 4-2 straight up, 4-2 ATS, and it figures. It's a long trip. Tulsa to Temple. We've seen how teams have done with the long trips. This one's got a lot going for it this week. We're going to take Temple minus 2.5 over Tulsa. All right, let's go to a dangerous home dog one here. And it's a team that disappointed me last week for the tour, which was Oregon State. And I got to tell you, the last 2 weeks, Oregon State's been disappointing. Oregon State's up here. They're at home. UNLV is over here on the left. But a couple things I want to point out. Go back to this Colorado State game, and I pointed this out last week, is that Oregon State actually led that thing by 21-10, and then Colorado State converted on third down, third and long, 4 times on a drive, or else they could have beaten Colorado State at home. Last week, once again, you play this Nevada game. Oregon State's leading 24-14, late third quarter. And then Nevada scores 3 times quickly, 2 times off interceptions, a 52-yard interception return for a touchdown. And in a matter of minutes, they take the lead in the game, and Oregon State couldn't come back. Oregon State actually had a 562, 422-yard edge. Look at this, 35-20 first down edge in the game. So Oregon State, as disappointing as they've been spread-wise the last 2 weeks, they are still a really good team at home. But I say dangerous home dog. Why am I going dangerous home dog? All right. Let's take a look at, first of all, how Oregon State does at home. So far at home this year, they are 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, straight up at home. Now let's go to take a look at the last 4 years. Overall, that's 8-2, 14-3, 20-3, straight up at home the last 4 years. And they've covered almost every game. They did not cover 2 games last year. And the Oregon game they didn't cover here. Look at this. They had a 218 to 217-yard edge against Oregon, the number 2 team in the country, at the half. Couldn't hang on in that one, ended up losing against the spread. That's a rare home spread loss. So the only 3 times they have lost at home the last 4 years, they lost to a top 5 team in Oregon. Go back here. Let's take a look, see what they did. go back to last 40 years results. This gives you results all the way back to 1976, so that's easy for you. And by the way, as I point out all the time, they did not have over-under totals until 2003. You might not know that. And then also we started putting half times in here as well. That's why this gets a lot more information on it. This is all updated through 2003. So let's take a look at the teams they lost. They lost to a top 5 Oregon. They lost to a top 5 Washington State, and only by 2. And they lost to a top 6 Oregon. That's their home loss. Well, actually, they only lost one game here. I think this Oregon game was on the road. The Ats were not put in there yet. This is just a rare team where the Ats are not in there. But their home loss was to Washington right here. Other than that, take a look at the other time they lost at home. And what this is this is bold. That means they won the game outright. If this is a W or L, that's whether they covered the game or not. So if we're looking for another, here's another home game they did not win outright. The only other one they did not win outright against number 7 USC. So they have 3 home losses in 4 years, and they've all been to teams ranked number 7 or higher in the polls. UNLV is not number 7 or higher. They are on the road. They have a massive game next week against Boise State, which could determine who wins the Mountain West this year. So that's a big game coming up. We're going to take Oregon State plus 7 against UNLV as your final selection. All right, let's get to the quick hitters now. And we're going to start off with a lot of home road. And by the way, one quick note for you. I want to give you a special. It's the same special I offered last week. The prices haven't changed on PressBox. They're still $129, $129.89, $225. But just for taking the tour, 25% off. 45 and 28 for the best bets on inside the press box. Can't argue with that this year. You could get press box for the rest of the year for $96 for college. And when you do that, you get Phil Steele Plus through the Super Bowl at $99 value. Just go to there, go to the season, or enter the code word Tour VIP. You could do that for college, NFL, postseason, bundle. Any of these, you get 25% off. I appreciate you guys taking the tour with me, especially after last week where I had a losing week. It was a bad week for the tour. I come right out and tell you what we do, win or lose, and a very disappointing week last week for the tour. All right, let's get to our home road dichotomy plays. I'll try to breeze through these so we can tighten this up a little bit, but I do want to show you all the stuff that's available and some of the stuff that I researched during the course of the week. So we're going to put Tulane on the right, and we are going to put Rice on the left. Here's the thing I want to point out about this. Rice at home this year is plus 117 yards per game, but on the road, minus 166 yards per game. Their offense, 415 yards at home, just 228 on the road. They lose by 24 points per game. How about Tulane? Well, Tulane at home, even playing Kansas State at home, is outgaining opponents by 231 yards per game. On the road, plus 19. So they're much tougher at home. Once again, they're allowing just 266 yards per game at home. They win their games by 26 points per game. They've blown out their last 2 opponents. Rice has tended to get blown out. They lost here by 26. They lost here to Army by 23, and they're on the road again. So they lose their road games by 24 points per game. The line on this one's only 22. We're going to take Tulane minus 22 over Rice. I call it a home road dichotomy play. Here's another one, home road. We're going to put Utah on the right. We're going to put TCU on the left. See what we come up with here. Now, this is a different type of home road because we're going to take a look at the ATS results. And we're going to take a look, and you've got spread records in your magazine, but these really blow out the spread records. They've got conference play, underdog, conference favorite, conference dog. So let's see how TCU does as a conference away dog. Conference away dog. They are 0-3, 1-0, 0-4. So coming into the year, 1-7. They did cover this year at Kansas, but 2-7. ATS as a conference away dog. Now let's take a look at Utah and see how they do just as a home favorite. They are 4-2, 5-1. That's 9-3. Is it conference home favorite? Yeah, conference home favorite. All right, conference home favorite. If we take away this 2-5 here, we're just going to go to the last 8 years heading into the year. That's 21-7 as a conference home favorite. And let's see what they've done this year. 21-8. So they're 21-8 as a conference home favorite. TCU is 2-7 ATS as a conference away dog. I think we see Utah bounce back this week. I like the fact rising out for the year. So now when they go into practice, it's not Isaac Wilson looking over his shoulder. They know he's the quarterback. I think we see Utah play to its potential this week. I like the Utes, -4.5 over TCU. Here's another home-road dichotomy. We've got New Mexico as a road favorite. How many times has New Mexico been a road favorite? That's an unusual situation here. And they're taking on Utah State. And a couple things I want to point out there. First of all, let's answer my question. I got to be honest, I didn't look it up last night, so this is going to be my question. Away favorite, they are 2-5-1 as an away favorite in the 8 times they've been an away favorite in 11 years. So they're not really a good away favorite. But this is also a New Mexico team that, if you look at their straight-up record on the road, go back here, they are actually 6-33 or 7-35 straight up their last 42 road games. Now we take a look at Utah State, and Utah State at home has a good record, 38-20 over 10 years. This year? Now this year they did lose. They beat Robert Morris 39-20, lost to Utah, lost to them. So 39-22 straight up at home. You got a poor road team, you got a really good home team, and then let's look at the series here. Utah State against New Mexico. Utah State has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last 7, and they're 6-1 ATS. So Utah State's won 7 in a row. They're a good home team against a team that's in a rare role as an away favorite on the road. And one more thing about Utah State that you might not know. Yeah, they've been getting beat by Utah, Boise State, and UNLV, 3 really good teams. And they lost to the Temple team, which I think is underrated. But look at these halftime yards. 261 yards against Utah at the half. Wow. 300 yards against Temple at the half. Wow. 337 against Boise at the half and 258 against UNLV at the half. And one of the differences, if we look at the individual player stats, Spencer Petras, the Iowa transfer, returned to the lineup. Temple, Boise, UNLV, the offense has been much more potent with Petras. He's got some pretty damn good numbers here. If we look at his numbers for the season, he's hitting 65% with a 9.6 ratio, throwing for all those yards per game. Look at the green over here. It should be a high-scoring game. It's a total where it's in the 80s. You got 2 defenses. Look at these rush defenses. Ridiculously bad. Look at the defenses overall. They're number 130, allowing teams 121 above their average. They're number 132, allowing teams 148 above their average. The total on this thing is in the 80s. Should be, but my play is going to be Utah State plus the points at home against New Mexico. All right, let's take a look at offensive turnaround. And it's much like we just saw with Utah State. Spencer Petras coming in the lineup is a big thing. Take a look at the same thing here. Put Bowling Green on the right. They're at home. We're going to put Kent State on the left. And for Kent, one of the big things, let's go to individual player stats. Look at this. Tommy Ulatowski got into the starting lineup against Eastern Michigan and Ball State. Now, has that made a difference? He's thrown for 345 and 394. Let's take a look at the difference. First 4 games are all non-conference. They average 250. In non-conference games, they average 168 yards per game. In conference play with Ulatowski at quarterback, 442 yards per game. They average 10 points per game in non-conference play, 34 points per game in conference play with Ulatowski at quarterback. So they have a much more potent offense. I like that. Gives you backdoor potential. Gives you potential overall. But let's examine BG a little bit closer. And when you look at the individual player stats, here's something interesting. Last week, you may not know this, Connor Bazelak actually got injured in a game. Now, their second-string quarterback is out, so they went to third-string quarterback Lucian Anderson, who hit just 2 of 9 passes for 10 yards. He's more of a running quarterback, and that's what they rely on here. Let's also take a look at something else. When we go to the Phil Steele Plus menu here, and we're going to click on wins, strength of wins, pain of losses. This is interesting. This gives you the strength of wins. Now, what this does, you get credit for every win of a team that you beat, of an opponent's win of a team that you beat, not including FCS wins. How many wins does BG have this year? Let's take a look over here. They actually have 0 wins. But you say they've won 2 games this year. Well, guess what? Their opponents have not beaten any FCS opponents. The 2 teams that they did beat, Bowling Green this year, And they are a good team. There's no doubt BG's a good team, but they're a better favorite than dog. They beat an FCS team, so no credit there. They beat Akron. Akron has 0 wins over an FBS opponent. So 0 wins is what they come up with so far this year. And they only beat Akron by 7, and they're laying 3 touchdowns to Kent State here. So we're going to take Kent State plus the big points over Bowling Green in this one. And finally, we're going to take a look. And this is an interesting thing, and it's I believe it's a Thursday game. It's tonight. So it's Virginia Tech. It's a quick hitter. We'll see how it does. But they have no close wins. This is my no close wins play. So they're laying 7 to Boston College tonight. Now, here's the thing the last 2 years with Virginia Tech. They either lose or they win big. Here's a 17-point win, 20-point win, 24-point win. Here's their losses, but in green. 19-point win, 17-point win, 17-point win, 18-point win, 26-point win, 38-point win, 21-point win. They don't have a single win by less than 17 points in the last 2 years. They've got 10 wins, none of them by less than 17. So they either win the game by 17 or they lose the game outright. So that's interesting. If you think BC's going to win outright, go ahead and play them on the money line. But Virginia Tech's got a lot of things going for them in this game. When these two have met the last 2 games, something I want to point out here, click on that, we see that they are, where's the yards per game? Plus 338, plus 129 yards. They've held BC to 262 and 155. And this is Thursday night in Blacksburg. You know the crowd's going to be wild for this one. And they're only -7 in this game. Plus, if we go back to that series history, look at the home team in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 straight up in ATS for the home team. So you've got a really good home team that when they win big. And Boston College also just lost I tweeted it out at Phil Steele 042. They lost one of their top cornerbacks in the game. Coming up, we like Virginia Tech, and they are -7 over BC. There goes my computer again with his 67%. You knew he was going to pop that up one time here. I didn't expect it, but he wants to tell you that he's hitting 67% on the year. The final thing I do want to tell you, if you would like to take the tour and get yourself a discount, use Expert Wins. Just $445 a week takes you through the Super Bowl. That gets you Phil Steele Plus and access to all this information. By the way, the Utah situation in Utah State, you can see here, they are 2.5 and 3.5 best bets, so it's not just the home away thing on their side. This Temple will be adjusted to a 3. That's my mistake. I updated it wrong this morning. Florida's the 3 best bet on the schedule. And finally, the 2 argument games this week. Now, you know me and my computer. We're always arguing about different things, and he especially wants to, there he goes again with his 67%. He wants to let me know he's hitting 20 and 10, 67% this year. But anyway, the 2 argument games. My computer has Tennessee 31-28. I like Alabama. I'd like Alabama in this game minus the points. My computer's got Texas 32-17. I like Georgia. So there's 2 games we've been arguing about all week. Let's see who does better. I'll mention it on the tour. Hopefully I'm 2-0 rather than my computer being 2-0 on these argument games. And hopefully it doesn't pop up that 67% too much during the course of the next few days. But I'd like to thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour. Don't forget to check Chris out. He's 11-5 with the FCS plays. I'll have that up for you Friday afternoon. The FCS Small College plays 11-5 this year. And thanks for taking the tour.